And I think, by the way, that distinction between legalization and decriminalization is never discussed. And I think it's very important. I think a lot of people don't understand there is a big difference. Decriminalization would take the possession of marijuana out of the criminal code entirely, but it would leave simple possession as an offense, kind of like what you get a ticket for. You get a ticket and you get a fine, sort of like underage possession of alcohol. It's not a criminal offense, but it's an offense. It's still against the law. So that's decriminalization. You have no criminal record if you get one of these tickets. Legalization, in pure terms, would produce a result more like alcohol. It becomes a legal product, which would be sold, one assumes, under government regulation, which does mean, of course, by guarantee, that it would be a ripoff. Whatever you might think about the legalization question in and of itself, it would be a ripoff if they regulated and sold it. In my view, there are probably quite a few of you out there who would support decriminalization, but not legalization. But those with more of an agenda on this deliberately, in my view, don't draw the distinction and get a lot of you thinking that what you should be supporting is the full legalization of marijuana. I am not in favor of legalization. I just don't think we need to add one more substance to the list of things we will sell that are legal under government control, which affect people's state of mind. And I would make sure that we have a transparent, effective medical marijuana program. I'll come back to that, as I think the present system is a farce. But on decriminalization, I'm a bit conflicted. I think the court time and resources tied up arresting and having trials for kids with a joint in their pocket are a waste of time and money. I think the notion of a 16-year-old having a criminal record for having a joint in their pocket is over the top, and it's silly. And I think the law is a farce because, in actual fact, almost no kids found with joints in their pocket actually get convicted of this. They find a way to withdraw the charge or plea bargain it or give them an absolute discharge, and I think that's, by the way, the right thing to do. But, they're only doing that by working around the law as it exists. On the other side, I have seen and honestly believe that marijuana use for some people does physical and mental harm. Now, so does alcohol, of course. I hear that argument. So the question becomes, as I said earlier, do you want to add another substance like liquor, which has some very bad consequences for some people, and you want to add one, namely marijuana, to go on top of the problems we've already got with alcohol? People with a medical need can get marijuana legally in Canada, but they have to go to a doctor and have that person sign off. Now, why won't the doctors participate? Well, because some of them don't completely buy into the medical benefits of marijuana and don't want to be the arbiters. And I think what's going on here is that the medical marijuana issue, where I'm prepared to believe it does help some people, but not as many as who apply, I think the people who want marijuana legalized completely so they can smoke more dope are deliberately hiding inside the medical marijuana Trojan horse. And I think it's a separate issue, the legalization, for Parliament, not for the courts, and it's a change we should approach with great caution. In a decriminalized world, marijuana would still not be legal. It would not be sold by the government, but possession would no longer be a criminal offense. You could still be charged with possession, but it would be more like a serious traffic offense. You'd get a ticket, but it would not be a criminal offense. You would not have a criminal record. You would not appear in criminal court, as it were, if you were charged or given that ticket. Now he says, Mr. Trudeau, that he is in the legalized world, which would make possession of at least a small amount of marijuana legal, like alcohol, assuming you have to be an adult and so on as well, and similarly subject to regulation, and the government presumably would either sell it or tax it and get a profit from selling it because it would be a legal product like alcohol is. This, says Mr. Trudeau, would help keep it away from kids, as we try to do, I think with a fair degree of success, with alcohol. I would only say this to Mr. Trudeau: not so fast. Why not go all the way to legalize? Well, I still have some concerns about the physical and mental health aspects arising from what I would call continuous, frequent use of marijuana over a long period of time. I mean, somebody who smokes it once a month, once a week, I don't suspect that's doing much, but I have seen instances myself where I wondered if continuous use of it was affecting people in a way that was not good for their health, and in fact, bad for their health. Justin Trudeau himself was previously quoted as saying, marijuana, and I quote him, disconnects you from the world, and it's not great for one's health. The people you heard me expressing concern about a moment or two ago are people who, as I said, are continuous, frequent users who could have an addiction. I mean, just like you're addicted to cigarettes. And those people may need some help dealing with that, because I've seen instances where, in my view, and it's an uneducated, unscientific view, people who were using marijuana a lot, it affected their motivation and their sort of even desire to get up in the morning, just because maybe it mellowed them out too much. I'm not entirely sure. And I've smoked marijuana before, so I'm aware of the effects it has on you, and they're not all bad in the sense that they render you incapable of kind of dealing with life. But I think if you use it all the time, it can, like everything, my friend Mr. Davis, I don't think he'd apply this to marijuana, but he used to say moderation in all things. I would want to see a study done by an objective, respected scientist, perhaps even from somewhere else, who would say, here are the good parts to this, because there may be some very good parts where it actually does have some curative or, sort of health-promoting properties. Certainly it helps with pain management, they say, with some of these cases of medical marijuana. And here are the bad things, because smoking anything, I mean, we know this. Smoking anything isn't going to be good for your health. But the question is, how bad is it? Both because of what it does to your lungs or your brain or, whatever. I don't know. I wouldn't know. But I think we need to find that out before we make a big public policy decision. And the one that's big to me is the one as between decriminalization and legalization. I don't think it's so big to move from where we are today to decriminalization. But there's a big step, to legalize, to go beyond to legalize. And I think we need to have the facts. And Justin Trudeau himself said science should be involved in the decision making. And he's right. So I don't know how he can move to say, let's legalize without doing the scientific examination, aside from winning votes, which is what somebody suggested he was doing.